Thank you all for being here. I see so many friends, dearly beloved friends in the audience, and one such is Jayashree, who's invited me to speak here today. Our families go way back, and really privileged to be here. I want to get into the topic of the day. It's a topic that is very relevant to our everyday lives. And poets, from times immemorial, poets have obsessed about love. They have conceptualized it, they have idealized it, they have inspired us to go looking for it. Every young person dreams of finding true love, and some of them have managed to find it. But what happens to true love in the end? That's a question that the poets haven't answered. What would have happened if Romeo and Juliet had gotten married? Would they have lived happily ever after? Or would they have ended up in a divorce court? The poets don't talk about what happens to love. Does it stand the test of time? Does it stand the trials and tribulations that come in life? What happens to true love eventually? The only poet that I know of who has attempted to answer these complex questions is Kamban. The love story in Kambaramayanam is unique. In Valmiki Ramayanam, Raman meets Sita for the very first time during the wedding ceremonies. And that is when he falls in love with her. Kamban makes a drastic change. In Kambaramayanam, Raman and Sita fall in love with each other before they even know each other's names. She is heartbreakingly beautiful. Kamban says that there is no one to equal her in all the three worlds. Brahma created her, Brahma created Sita and threw the mold away. Once, Manmadan wanted to paint a portrait of Sita, and so he took up a brush in one hand and an easel in the other. That easel did not have paint, it had amritam, nectar. He dipped his brush in nectar and he tried to paint her portrait. Her eyes, her nose, her lips. He tried and he couldn't. He failed. The Apsaras, renowned for their beauty, looked upon Sita and raised their hands above their heads in reverence to her. The women who belonged to the mortal world looked upon her and wished that their eyes would not blink so often, so that they could take in her beauty without any interruptions. And the goddesses, whose eyes didn't blink anyway, they say that gods and goddesses' eyes don't blink. Those goddesses looked upon Sita and wished that they had many more eyes to see her. This was Sita, and Raman was no less. He was heart-wrenchingly handsome. Every single girl in Mithila was in love with him. As he was going down the street, they lined up on either side and strained to catch a glimpse of him. One particular young girl, with eyes curved and sharp like a sword, with dark black hair, she takes one look at Raman and she turns to her friend and she says, "I have just seen a thief. மைக்கரும் கூந்தல் செவ்வாய் வாழ்நுதல் ஒருத்தி உள்ளம் நெக்கென உருகுகின்றாள். நெஞ்சிடை வஞ்சன் வந்து புக்கன் போகா வண்ணம் கண்ணெனும் புலன்கொள் வாயில் சிக்கென அடைத்தேன் தோழி சேருதி அமளி என்றாள்." I have just seen a thief. He has entered my body through my eyes and he has stolen my heart. I have lost my heart to him. So I'm going to close my eyes so that he cannot come out through the same way he went in. I'm going to close my eyes and capture him in my heart. Now hold my hands, take me home, lead me to my bedchamber, where I want to spend a few blissful hours of love in his company, she says. This was the plight of the women of Mithila. And this Raman and this Sita, they have a chance meeting. in the city of Mithila. Raman is there wandering the streets with Vishwamitran and his brother Lakshmanan. He is flushed from his victory in battle against Tadagai. He has just killed the demoness Tadagai, his very first battle. And he is wandering around the streets of Mithila taking in the sights and sounds, when suddenly, for no reason at all, he chances to look up. And at that very same moment, the girl he sees on the balcony of the palace, she looks down. She looks down and sees this young man standing on the street below with a bow and arrow in his hands. He looks up and sees this very beautiful girl standing on the balcony of the palace. And Kamban immortalizes this meeting with a very beautiful song. Yennarum nalathinal inayal nindruri கண்ணொடு கண் இணை நோக்கி ஒன்றை ஒன்று உண்ணவும் நிலை பெறாத உணர்வும் ஒன்றிட அண்ணலும் நோக்கினான் அவளும் நோக்கினாள். Everybody knows the அண்ணலும் நோக்கினான் அவளும் நோக்கினாள் part, but Kamban begins by saying எண்ணரும் நலத்தினாள். She was not just beautiful outside, she was beautiful inside too. She was full of goodness, she was a paragon of virtue. Most young women, when they look at a young man, they always wonder, could this be the one? And when they meet their soulmate, they stop wondering. Their search stops. And similarly, when she looked down and saw Rama, this was that moment for her. Her search stopped. She knew she had found her soulmate. All her senses focused on him. Kamban says, கண்ணொடு கண் இணை கவ்வி ஒன்றை ஒன்று உண்ணவும். You have seen cats grab another cat by the neck. That is kavudal. That is how their eyes grabbed each other and devoured each other. So this was just more than a look. This was much more than a look. Annalum nokinan, avalum nokinan. What followed was magical. பருகிய நோக்கெனும் பாசத்தால் பிணிந்து ஒருவரை ஒருவர் தம் உள்ளம் ஈர்த்தலால் வரிசிலை அண்ணலும் வாட்கண் நங்கையும் இருவரும் மாறி புக்கு இதயம் எய்தினர். Their eyes bound together, entwined these two together in a tight bond. Their hearts were attracted to each other, drawn to each other, and before they even realized it, their hearts had exchanged places. Her heart had entered his body and his heart had entered her body. Sita Kalyanam over. In a marriage, exchanging garlands is the most important part of a marriage, and that symbolizes the exchange of hearts. Here there was no need for symbolism. They actually exchanged hearts. And Kamban goes on to do the next step. After Sita Kalyanam, the next step is to remove drishti. He wants to ward off the evil eye. Usually they keep a black mark on the cheek of the bride and the bridegroom. So Kamban is searching for a black mark. Is there any deficiency in Sita? Is there any deficiency in Raman? Is there any imperfection in this perfect, beautiful visage of Raman and Sita? He looks and he finds one imperfection. He says Sita had everything, but there was one thing she didn't have. She didn't have a waist. Marungila Nangayum, and Raman had everything. He had all the good qualities, but he didn't have one thing. He didn't have blame. Marungila Nangayum Vasayil Ayyanum. She didn't have a waist, he didn't have blame. Marungila Nangayum Vasayil Ayyanum. ஒருங்கு இரண்டு உடற்கு உயிர் ஒன்று ஆயினர். They became one. After Sita Kalyanam, they became one. Two bodies, one soul. And Kamban says there's nothing amazing about this. This is not a new relationship. They have known each other for eons. They have lived with each other in Tirupparkadal in the Milky Ocean for eons. They just became reacquainted. Karungadal பள்ளியில் கலவை நீங்கிப் போய் இருவரும் கூடினால் பேசவும் வேண்டுமோ? He feels guilty. No dialogue. Just அண்ணலும் நோக்கினான் அவளும் நோக்கினாள். Shouldn't there be a dialogue? He says there is no need. When old married couples meet, when old lovers meet, there is no need for words. Just a glance, a glimpse is enough. A look speaks more than 1,000 words. This is the love story of Raman and Sita. After a lavish, grand wedding, they begin their lives together. But very soon they find themselves all alone, banished to a dark forest in the midst of vicious creatures and devious magic. But even there, their love for each other grows with every passing day. When Raman came to convey the news that he had lost his crown, that he had to go to the forest, that he had been banished, when Raman came to convey the news to Sita, he tried to sweeten things for her. He tried to sugarcoat the news. He said, I'm not going to become king. My brother Bharadan is going to become king. I have to go to the forest, just 14 years. I'll be back. The blink of an eye, I'll be back. She didn't buy that. She looks at him, tears in her eyes, and she says, are you going to break your promise to me? You promised me when you held my hand over the fire, you said you would never let go of my hand. Are you going to break that promise now? Raman tries to dissuade her. He says, you can't come with me to the forest. It's a terrible place. The earth will scorch the skin of your feet. And she says, Nin pirivinum sudumo perungadu. Is that fire going to burn me up more than the grief of our separation? Raman doesn't say another word. And so she accompanies him to the forest. And they live there for 13 long years, 13 happy years. And with just 10 months to go for the completion of the 14th year, Surpanagai comes. And Ravanan arrives. And Ravanan captures her. And she is lives in captivity in the Ashokavanam for 10 months. At the end of the war, Ravanan is killed. And it is now time for the old lovers to meet. As soon as Ravanan is killed, the first thing that Raman does is he makes Vibhishanan perform Ravanan's last rites. He says that soul needs to find its place in the universe. And so Vibhishanan performs the last rites. And the next thing Raman does is he crowns Vibhishanan. He seats him on the throne of Lanka. Because a throne cannot be vacant without a king even for a moment. That takes precedence over even Sita. And then Raman says to Vibhishanan, go to the Ashokavanam and fetch my wife. Sendrita Mama Deviye. Bring her. Seerodum, with respect. She is not an ordinary woman. She is no ordinary woman. She comes from the royal lineage of Mithila. She is the uncrowned queen of Ayodhya. And so she deserves every respect that she can get, and more than anything else, Vibhishanan on behalf of Ravanan has to make reparations for all the insults that she faced for those 10 months in the Ashokavanam. So he says, Sendrita Mama Deviyai Seerodu. And here there is a misunderstanding. The word seer in Tamil has many meanings. One meaning is respect, the other meaning is wealth, richness, grandeur. So Vibhishanan misunderstands Raman. He goes to Sita and he says, Raman wants you to come to the battlefield decked in jewelry and finery. She flatly refuses. She says no. He has to see me the way I am. The unkempt prisoner of Ravanan, she has to see me like this. Kamban likens her to a moon that appears in the morning sky. I'm sure you would have seen a moon in the morning sky. It appears dull. That's how Sita looked. She was bright like the moon, but she was like the moon in a morning sky while she was in captivity in Lanka. She insists that Raman and the whole world must see me like this. But Vibhishanan says, this is Raman's instructions. You have to come decked in finery. And so she agrees. She goes to see her beloved in the battlefield, decked like a queen. She steps out from the palanquin and Raman looks at her. And Kamban says, Amaya Nokinan. He looks at her from head to foot. And then he takes off on her. He says, I see you have been living a royal life in the palace. Eating meat, drinking wine, sleeping on a soft bed. You have been living in the palace of my mortal enemy. Now, why have you come here now? Is this some macabre farce? Have you come here to pretend that you love me? I don't want to have anything to do with you. You have brought shame to chastity. You have brought shame to virtue. You have brought shame to goodness. I came here not to rescue you. I came here to rescue my reputation. The world should not say that Raman allowed his wife Sita to languish in prison. I came here to avoid that blame. And I have no intention whatsoever of living with you. Go wherever you want. Die for all I care. Podi, Sadi. There is pin drop silence in the battlefield. The Vanara army is there. The remaining Asuras are there. Sugrivan, the king of Kishkinda, is there. Angadan, Vali's son, is there. Lakshmanan is there. Anuman is there. Vibhishanan is there. None of them look up. They all look down, and Sita, Kamban says, Sita sheds tears of blood. It's not water that flowed from her eyes, it was blood. She looks down upon the earth. The earth is her mother, of course. She looks down upon the earth. She is unable to find the words to speak, and finally, she does speak. She asks Raman just one question. She says, Rama, you don't trust me. This I understand. But what about Anuman? Don't you trust Anuman? Did you not send him to the Ashokavanam to find me? And did he not report back to you about how I lived in captivity? Do you not trust Anuman, the great one? And Rama has nothing to say. So she gives up. She says, Nan Parukkellam Patini. The whole world sees me as the epitome of chastity. But my husband of 14 years stands here before the whole world questioning my virtue. I don't care if I live anymore. And she looks around. She finds her brother-in-law Lakshmanan. She summons him. She says, come here. And she commands him. She says, create a pyre. I'm going to jump into the fire. And Lakshmanan is shocked to the core. This poor boy comes forward, and this entire drama, it's like almost like there's a camera in that scene, and Kamban is standing behind the camera and giving a running commentary. Kamban says that Lakshmanan came forward. Ilayavan tanai adaithu idudi thi. She commanded him, idudi thi, make the pyre. Yena valai oli mun kayyinal vayin koorinal. See they wearing bangles in her hands. She commanded him to light the fire. Ulaivuru manattavan. Lakshmanan, shocked to his core, grieving. He looks up at Raman. Ulagam yavukkum kalai kanai nokka. Avan kannin koorinan. She verbalized her request to Lakshmanan. Lakshmanan looked at Raman with a question in his eyes, and Raman answered with a look in his eye. There was no further verbal communication. It was all just looks that were exchanged. And here Kamban uses a very pertinent word to describe Raman, and that is kalaikan. Kalaikan means a yardstick. Usually, everything is measured with a yardstick. Not only yardage, not only fabric, but even goodness and virtue and truth and honesty, everything is measured with a yardstick. The yardstick is bigger than all of this. And that yardstick is unbending like a sengol. So Kamban says, there was Raman. He was the yardstick against which you measure goodness. And he had not changed. He had not deviated from justice. He was unbending. He was being just. He was dispensing justice. So what justice was Raman dispensing to this wife of his, whom he loved and pined for every single day of that 10 months? It was a soul-searing grief. There were moments in those 10 months when Raman told Lakshmanan that I am going to kill myself. I cannot live without her for a moment. He would see two swans together and he would start sobbing because the swans reminded him of Sita. He would look at a lotus leaf and he would start sobbing, saying the petals resemble Sita's eyes. This was his grief for 10 months, and he sees her for the very first time. And he tells her, Podi, Sadi, go, die. And Kamban says, he is dispensing justice. So, he looks at Lakshmanan, and in his eyes, Lakshmanan gets the answer to his question. Lakshmanan is shocked by all this. He has been ordered to create a pyre, and he is looking at Raman questioningly, and Raman answers with another look. Now, what did Raman say with his eyes? Kamban does not elaborate that. He leaves that to our imagination. Was there hatred in Raman's eyes for Sita? Was there disgust for her? Was there a distrust of her? What did Lakshmanan see in Raman's eyes? Lakshmanan saw love in Raman's eyes for Sita. I know it's difficult for you to believe this, but Lakshmanan saw love in Raman's eyes for Sita. He did not see disgust. He did not see disdain or distrust or hatred. He saw love. And that reassured Lakshmanan and gave him the courage to establish the pyre. If Lakshmanan, Kamban does not mention this. You have to deduce this. The way we deduce it is if Lakshmanan had seen hatred or disgust or distrust in Raman's eyes, he would have stopped in his tracks. He would have argued with Raman. He would have stopped Sita. He would have tried to change Raman's mind. But what he saw in Raman's eyes was love, and that reassured him. And that look of Raman's uncovers the entire puzzle of the Agni Parichaya. Raman was play acting. One of my favorite actors has been is the late Nadigar Tilagam Shivaji Ganeshan. One of my favorite scenes is from Veerapandiya Kattabomman. All of you know that dialogue, where he is talking to the British, and his dialogue delivery and his body language is simply superb. I've seen that scene 1,000 times. And I have wondered, when Nadigar Tilagam was acting that scene, what was actually in his mind? Was he feeling like Kattabomman himself, about to go to his death? Or was he thinking about his children, or இன்னைக்கு என்ன சாம்பார் வச்சிருக்காங்களோ வீட்ல? What was going through his mind? Because that's what actors do. They play act. They deliver their dialogues. The body language is there, but what is in their mind is something completely different. Here also, Raman is berating Sita. He is insulting her. He is questioning her virtue, but in his eyes there is love. And Lakshmanan realizes that not only Raman, but Sita is also play acting. This is not about virtue. This is about atonement. This is a story that goes way back. 10 months earlier, in the forest, when the golden deer Marichan appeared, Raman went after that deer. Lakshmanan said to Raman, he said, this is not a Punman, this is not a golden deer, this is a Mayaman. This is the dark magic of the Asuras. Don't go after this deer. And Raman said to him, Ilankumara, illadana illai. There are so many magical things in this world, you can't know all of it. Illadana illai Ilankumara, he said. So Raman accepted that this golden deer actually existed in creation, in nature. And so Lakshmanan said, okay, if you want to go get the deer, let me do it. Let me be the one to go. And Sita looked at Raman and said, Nayaga, நீயே பற்றி நல்கலை போலும். Rama, won't you do this one thing for me? Won't you go and get this deer yourself? Won't you do this one thing for me? And this request comes from a girl who has given up her life of privilege and lived the hard life of an ascetic in the forest for 14 years. She says that, and she sheds tears and she runs away into the hut like a spoiled child. And immediately, bow in hand, he takes off behind the deer. As he departs, he tells Lakshmanan, take care of Sita, don't leave her alone. He follows the deer. He realizes that Lakshmanan is right, that is actually a demon called Marichan. And as that he shoots an arrow and it pierces Marichan's chest, and as the deer transforms into the demon, he carries out a deception. He wails out Sita's name. He wails out Lakshmanan's name in Rama's voice. She hears it. And understandably, she is distraught. She faints. She falls down in a swoon. When she comes to her senses, she looks up and she sees Lakshmanan standing there, bow and arrow in hand, and she says, what are you doing here? Why haven't you gone in search of your brother? He is in grave danger. And Lakshmanan says to her, Amma, have you forgotten what happened in the forest with the demon Viradan? Viradan was a demon who was grotesque to look at. His entire body was a mouth. And this Viradan was killed by Raman with one arrow. Sita witnessed that. She witnessed him battling with demon after demon, and she saw him becoming successful. And here she was doubting his survival. And Lakshmanan said, how can you doubt Raman's ability as an archer? Do you think that demons can kill Raman? No, this is all part of dark magic. Raman is not dead. Raman is not hurt. I will not leave you and go to Raman because he has ordered me to stand here and guard you. She is furious. She says to him, I know why you're doing this. Nindra nin nila idu neriyatru andru. You have wrong intentions towards me. She is implying that he desired her. She doesn't stop with that. She says, if you don't go this minute, I will fall into the forest fire and kill myself. There was a forest fire there. She threatens him. And without saying another word, grieving, crying with sorrow, he leaves Sita all alone in the forest and goes after Raman. How could she say this to this boy who served them selflessly for 14 years, Kamban says, without sleeping a wink? He calls him Imaippu il Nayanathan. He never shut his eyes, not even for 1 second. Would a mother say this to her son? Lakshmanan had a mother once upon a time. That was the old story. That mother was Sumitra. Sita was his new mother. And Sumitra, when she said goodbye to her son, she said, Agadu andral avvanam ivayodhyai. From this moment onwards, that forest when Rama and Sita are going to be, that is your Ayodhya. Ma kadal Raman nam mannavan. From this moment onwards, our beloved Raman is Dasarathan for you. Vayyamindum poga uyir tayar nam poongudal Sita. Sita is now your mother, not the three of us. From this moment onwards, Sita is your mother. Endre egai. Now go, this instant, leave, don't stand before me. This is what Sumitra said to Lakshmana. And she said something else too. Magane, even pin cell, always walk behind Rama. Always walk behind Rama. Never go before him. Tambi enumbadi andru. Adiyarin eval seidi. Do not go with him shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand like his brother. Go behind him like a servant. Your attitude should be one of servitude. Go behind him like a servant. Mannum nagarkavan vandidin va, alladu munnam mudi. You should be behind him at all times, but when danger comes before him, place yourself between him and danger. If there is an arrow that comes for Raman's chest, you must go before him and receive that arrow in your chest. If for some reason Raman is unable to come back to Ayodhya, I should hear the news that you died before him. This is what Sumitra says. Mannum nagar kivan vandidin va alladu munnam mudi. Die before Rama dies. That is your job. That is why I am sending you to the forest. Complete contrast to Kausalya, who fell at Dasarathan's feet and pleaded for him to retain Rama. So this is the son of such a mother. And Sita looks at him and says, Nindra nin nilayidu neriyatru andru. Fast forward 10 months later, in the battlefield, he questions her chastity because she questioned his brother's virtue. The tit for tat. And the moment Raman questioned her chastity, Sita realized what he was doing. He was giving her an opportunity for prayachitam. He was giving her an opportunity to atone for her sins. And immediately, she called the one to whom she had to say sorry. In that battlefield, there was Sugrivan, there was Angadan, there was Anuman, there was Vibhishanan. Countless number of Vanaras. Any one of them could have established the pyre. Why did it have to be Lakshmanan? Because he is the one to whom she had to apologize. Just a sorry in private or a sorry in public wouldn't do. That she was on board. That she had picked up on his cue and she was also play acting. So Lakshmanan establishes the pyre. Sita goes into it and comes out unscathed. Kamban says that she had flowers in her hair which had drops of water on them. Not even those drops of water had wilted in the fire. It's all over in a moment. The god of fire emerges with her in his arms and runs towards Raman and says, Rama, he berates Raman. He says, Rama, what wrong have I done to you? Why are you punishing me by sending her into the fire? Because she came into the fire, I am burning up. That is the nature of her chastity. And Raman continues to play act. He says, who are you to vouch for her? As if he doesn't know who Agni is. Agni says, Rama, I am the god of fire. I was the one who was a witness to your marriage. I am the element of nature on whom people swear. Neruppil adichu satyam pandrathu. You swear on fire. I stand witness to the promises and vows that people make. And I am telling you she is pure. And Raman says, okay, if you say she is pure, I will accept this. Very condescendingly. And at that moment, the gods in the heavens are worried. Lord Shiva appears. Brahma appears. They bring Dasarathan. They make him appear in the sky. All three of them try to comfort Sita and Raman. Sita is not faced by any of this. She is not troubled by it at all. She lets him finish out her play out the drama, and then she goes to him. And without any issues, she continues to live with him for the rest of her life. Now, how could she put up with this insult? How could she remain unfazed? And how could she not even ask her husband a single question? Why did you do this? How could she be like this? Because she had the strength and the faith to believe in his love. She knew that his love was true, and everything that he was saying and doing was for a reason. It was to make her atone for her mistakes. Raman lived up to a very high standard. He was Vasayil Ayyan, the blameless one, Nadayil Nindruyar Nayagan. So she had to live up to the same standards. He was blameless. So she had to be blemishless too. Just think about it. After this, after the battle, they have to go back to Ayodhya. He is going to be king. She is going to be the queen. He is going to rule the country. She is going to rule the household. She has to go back into that house and face Sumithirai. How can she face her after having said such a thing about her son? How can she look Lakshmanan in the face after having said such a thing about him? Every single day of captivity, she grieves and regrets what she said. And she longs for an opportunity to do Prayachitam. And Raman realizes that he cannot take her back into that household if she hasn't wiped off that blemish. Raman never asked Sita to do the Agni Pariksha. He said, Podi, Sadi, go, die for all I care. He never said build a pyre and jump into the fire. He never said that. She chose to do it. For her, it was a rite of passage. She was purifying herself, not because her body had been sullied by Ramanan. Ramanan, in Kambaramayanam, Ramanan doesn't lay a finger on Sita. He lifts her up with the hut in which she stands. So there's no need for her to establish her virtue or prove her chastity or purify her body. There's no need for any of this, but she needed to purify her tongue, which had uttered such poisonous words. And to do that, she went into the fire. And because she was now blameless, a big burden had been lifted off her mind. She was able to live happily ever after with Raman. That is the hallmark of true love. That understanding that existed between them, that wordless communication, that is the hallmark of true love. Not passion, not flowers, not birthday cards, not Valentine cards. That deep level of understanding. Kamban, unlike other poets, does not paint a fairy tale love for us to enjoy. He doesn't paint the picture of a fairy tale love. He does an in-depth analysis of love, like a psychologist. He analyzes what happens to love in the course of time. How does it change? How does it evolve? How does it adapt? And he, using this couple as an example, he shows us that the hallmark of true love is faith and a deep understanding of each other's emotions. Marriage is never a bed of roses. I don't have to tell you that. It's more like a tempest, a series of storms, one storm after the other. There are harsh words, there are betrayals, there are misunderstandings, there are fights, quarrels. But if there is an undercurrent of true love, none of that matters. This was the case with Raman and Sita. Throughout the entire time when he was speaking, she knew that he truly loved her. She never doubted that for one instant. And she knew he was doing this for a very specific reason. And when she chose to go into the fire, Raman knew that she was doing that for a very specific reason. He didn't for one instant doubt her love. So when they had this deep understanding between them, their marriage survived a test like this. Very few marriages will survive a trial of fire like this was. Very few marriages. Not then, not now. She was a woman who lived centuries ago, in another world perhaps. But her story is still relevant to us because it shows us what it takes to make a marriage endure. Not all of us are lucky to find it, but if you have it, if you have true love, you have to cherish and nourish it, and you have to believe in it. And that is what makes a marriage endure. And recently I had an experience of Annalum Nokina, Navalum Nokina. During COVID, I went to receive my son. He was coming from the US. And standing next to me was this old man. And he kept pacing up and down. And both my son and his wife were coming on the same flight. He said, my wife is coming by wheelchair. And I'm very worried. And I hope she doesn't get COVID. She's not very well. And he was talking about her that entire time that we were waiting. And they announced the flight. And about 5 or 6 passengers came in the wheelchair. And I was looking at this man's face. The moment he saw her, the pacing stopped, the body relaxed. He didn't even smile. You could just feel his mind unloading a huge burden. And from her, she had this look on her face which said, I found you and you found me. No words were exchanged. I swear, they didn't say a single word to each other. She came by wheelchair. He just went, didn't even ask her, how was your trip? How was your journey? Did you eat? Nothing. Annalum nokinan, avalum nokinal. No need for words. He just followed the person who was pushing the wheelchair and the luggage and went looking for his vehicle. That's it. So when I saw that, I immediately remembered this verse from the Kambaramayanam. You don't need words. When there is a deep understanding, when there is faith in each other's love, you don't need words. Annalum nokinan, avalum nokinan. So for those of the naysayers, every single place where I've talked about Kambaramayanam, I've been asked about this. How could Raman treat Sita like this? Now, Valmiki Ramayanam is an entirely different story. This is not the story there. Vastly different. Because there, Ravanan actually grabs Sita by the waist and the neck. And there, the Agni Parichay is for her purification. And there, it is not Sita who is crying, it is Raman who is sobbing because he has to put her through it. Completely different story. In Kamban's Ramayanam, it's so nuanced. It's so nuanced, and it teaches us a very important lesson. Words matter. Words matter. And the words you say today can come back to bite you years from now. And so, no matter what the provocation, you have to think before you speak. That is one important lesson. The other important lesson is, if you have managed, if you're lucky enough to find true love, then learn to cherish and nourish it. Because it will be with you for as long as you want it to be. And that brings, with that I bring my talk to an end, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer it.
I think that was mesmerizing.
Yeah. So that is the Uttarakandam. That is the Uttarakandam. In the Uttarakandam, Dobby is supposed to have passed some comment about Sita, and he banishes her to the forest. The Uttarakandam has not been recreated by Kamban. A lot of poets believe that the Uttarakandam is not part of the original Valmiki Ramayanam, that it is a later addition, because the Valmiki Ramayanam was never written, it was narrated, So even when we repeat a story, if somebody tells you a story and you repeat it to another person, you make changes unknowingly. So these changes happen with the course of time, and they think that Uttarakandam was a much later addition because there are discrepancies between the main epic and Uttarakandam. One thing poets will never do is tell a lie. No poet will ever tell a lie. And one small example, in the Valmiki Ramayanam, Sugrivan sees Raman taking Sita away in the Pushpaga Vimanam. And sees Ramanan taking Sita away in the Pushpaga Vimanam. And when Raman comes looking for her, Sugrivan tells Raman, I saw this 10-headed demon taking a beautiful girl away in the Pushpaga, in an aerial car. I don't know who that 10-headed demon is. I don't know where they went. This is what Sugrivan tells Raman after he had surrendered to Raman, after the Sugriva Sararagati. But in the Uttarakandam, there is a chapter where Vali captures Ravanan, brings him to the palace when Sugrivan was a child, and allows Sugrivan to play with Ravanan's 10 heads. So if as a child Sugrivan was acquainted with this 10-headed demon, how many 10-headed demons could there have been? If he was acquainted with this 10-headed demon, why did he not say to Raman that this is Raman and he's going to Lanka? What does it need to have Vanaras go in 8 different directions searching for Sita? So Valmiki clearly states that Sugrivan did not have any prior knowledge of Ravanan. But in the Uttarakandam, Valmiki says that Sugrivan played with Ravanan's 10 heads as a child. So like this, there are many, many discrepancies. which is why a lot of experts feel that the Uttarakandam is not part of the original Valmiki Ramayana. That is why Kamban completely avoided that episode.
Time periods when these two were written? How much time difference was there?
Huge amount of time difference. Huge amount. Even the language evolved. So Valmiki Ramayanam, there is no actual timestamp on it. It could be could have been even before the Common Era, certainly before the advent of Buddhism, which itself is before the Common Era. So one doesn't know when the Valmiki Ramayanam happened. Kamban's Ramayanam, anywhere between 900 to 1200 AD or C or whatever it is you choose to call it. And Kamban was heavily influenced by Valmiki Ramayanam. Kamban was also heavily influenced by the Vaishnavite Alvars, who sang pasurams on Narayana between 400 and 900 BC. CE. Kamban was also influenced by Tirukkural, and this must have happened around after 900 BC. So many years, thousands of years later.
That was really mesmerizing, and I think none of us knew how time flew. As we come to the close of this beautiful evening, I'd like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude, first and foremost, to Dr. Priya Ramachandran. Thank you for that deeply insightful and moving session. You brought alive the tenderness, complexity, and depth of the Kambaramayanam in a way that will stay with us for a long time. The way you helped us reflect on Sita's Agnipravesam in particular, something that often carries so many differing perceptions, was truly thought-provoking. Many of us have at some point wondered about it, even questioned it, but the perspective you shared today opens up a more nuanced and deeper understanding of the love between Rama and Sita. I'm sure we are all leaving this space with something new to reflect on.